Hello, and kia ora from Nelson, New Zealand. Welcome to my podcast. I live in the top of the South Island in New Zealand, in a place called Nelson, with my husband and my dog Bailey. I have two older children that have left home already. It's Thursday today and a bit sort of a cloudy, windy day today, but we're early spring here in New Zealand, so it's starting to have some lovely days and sort of 18, 19 degrees, so it's lovely. Slightly cooler than that today, but welcome to my podcast if you're returning, and a special welcome to any new viewers. You're extremely welcome. It is actually the afternoon this time. Normally I do my podcast in the morning, but today I ended up deciding to take my mum up to my daughter's place to see our grandson. He's 6 months today, and mum doesn't get to see him a lot. She's 87 and less mobile, but I took her up and it was just lovely. The four generations there this morning, and we really enjoyed spending some time with him. He's just absolute delight. Lots of open mouth kisses. He's very affectionate, so mum was just covered in slobber from all his lovely open mouth kisses. Just delightful. Today I have got one finish. I was hoping to have two finishes, but one finish, one getting close to finish whip, and then I've got a couple of things that I've made in sewing, and I will talk to you a bit about that at the end. So the finish that I've done is a top called True Romance by Anne B Hanssen, and I'll put a picture here of the pattern and finished garment. And I told you about this my last podcast. I had an issue with it where it had lace up the front, and I somehow had miscalculated, and when I took it off the circular needles to do the front, it turned out that the lace was off to the side. So if you want to see more about that, look at my last podcast. And I had thrown it in the naughty corner for a while and wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, but after talking to your last podcast, I decided I would get going with it because I really wanted it for summer. And I had a lovely comment from a lady called, I think, One Missing Pieces from Dunedin, and she'd suggested that I because I'd done all of the back and I was just needing to do the front to finish it, and that's when I discovered that I was completely out with the lace panel, and she suggested that I take off the back by snipping and undoing the knitting, and then grafting that back onto the body when I came to do the armholes and around the sleeve shaping. Thank you for that. That was a great idea. I did run into a few problems, and I'll tell you about that, but the intention was really good, and it actually motivated me to actually get going and fix it. So this is the top here. It's all finished now. Don't know whether you can see. It has a pretty lace pattern on the front, and that was off to the side when I took it off the round needles, but it goes right up and around the neckline there. It's just got a little bit of a cast off that just rolls just very slightly, and then it has lace at the bottom. I'm not sure whether I've made it long enough or not. I've blocked it this last week. Can't say I'm that happy about the way the back is rolling, but I'm hoping when I haven't tried it on, and I'll maybe have some photos or a little bit of B-roll of me trying it on in this video. but it's looking long enough and looks like it should fit me, so I'm really happy with it. The wool I used, because it's been my first garment knitting for quite a number of years other than baby things, I decided I would get a cheaper yarn just in case it all went pear-shaped. So this is the yarn I ended up buying, Panda Miracle 4-ply, and it's just 100% acrylic, and I hoped that wouldn't be too warm in the summer. But it'll be really useful to wear early spring and autumn under maybe a loose blouse or something like that, so just as an undergarment. So I'm really pleased with it. That's the back. The knitting's, I think, is okay. Now the grafting, I had a go at, I put it on some waste yarn, like the suggestion was, and had it to the side, and I got up to the armhole where I split for the armhole and got to the right amount of stitches here, and then I had a go at grafting. But I watched a YouTube video on how to do that because I wasn't totally sure how to go about that, and I watched a video that had the two pieces kind of like that, and you just picked up the stitches all the way along, and I don't know whether I was getting the stitches twisted or the yarn was twisting or what, but it just looked awful, and it certainly didn't look like a knitting row, so I kind of gave up that, and in the end I did the whole thing again. It only took me a couple of evenings, so it wasn't, you know, a big deal or anything. And then when I got to the shoulders, it told me to graft the front and the back together, and I did it one time. The same way, and it looked awful. And I had another go, so I unpicked it, had another go, it still looked awful. So then I started looking up the YouTube tutorials again, and saw that there was one on the Kitchener stitch, and I've just done it on toes of socks, so I hadn't really, and you know, only about 6 stitches on both needles, so I hadn't really explored that, but I saw one of the YouTube videos and it said it was grafting, and I thought, oh, I could have actually done it that way, because I find that if you're on 2 needles in there back to back and you're just working across the top, it was much easier to get the tension right, and it looked more like a row of knitting by the time I finished. So I ended up doing that for my shoulders. So I unpicked again and did it my shoulders, and I think I've done a reasonable job. I think there's a couple of bits, I'll see whether I can get it, a couple of bits that are a little bit wonky. I think this one's probably slightly worse, but I think when it's on your shoulder you're not going to see it, so I was actually quite happy with that. So I think if I'd actually done that when I did the trying to put the back on, it would have been far more successful. I did discover that doing the Kitchener stitch, and I don't know whether others find it easy enough with circular needles, but I found there wasn't enough to hold with short circular needles, and the needles kept slipping out of the stitches. I kept losing them, and so then I'd have to stop, and then I was getting out of the order of what you did with the front and the back and the knits and the pearls and things. So I ended up going out and finding a old set of you know, proper needles, and transferred the stitches onto that, and it was much easier because I had something decent to hold in my left hand while I did the, you know, needle in and slipping off and purl wise and knit wise and things. So, and I got in a far better rhythm, and it, you know, the results were much better. So I'll have to remember that next time, that put them on proper needles with a stopper at the end and a point at the other end, and not DPNs or anything, although I guess you could do it with DPNs. I don't think I had a DPN that was just the right size. So this is knitted in a 3.5 needle, and that worked really well. I got the gauge with that, so I'm happy enough with that. So that is my finished object this time. And then my works in progress was the top that I was working on when I was talking to you last time, which is the Anker Summer Tea, or Anker Summer Top by Petite Knits, and it's done with my own yarn that I dyed myself, and it's just a very delicate pink. It's coming across a bit paler than it actually is on screen. It's a little bit of a peachy pink colour, and that was yarn that I dyed. I bought this really beautiful silk merino do-it-yourself yarn from, I think it's Countrywide. Yeah, Countrywide Yarns, who are based in Auckland, and it's 4-ply, 400 metres per 100 grams, 15% mulberry silk and 85% merino. So it's really lovely yarn. It's super soft in the ball. It's just super soft. And I dyed up four balls of that, or 4 skeins of that. And I've got, where was I up to last time? I knitted, so it's got a yoke knitted from the top, a yoke that's rows of rib, and then you do some increased rows and then another row of rib, increasing all the way. And I think I was down to, down to there last time, and I'd tried it on, and I just had the sleeves on yarn, so I ended up going back and doing the sleeves because I started being concerned about the 4-ply, and it's done on 3mm needles. It's quite fine gauge, and it's also like it's taking a long time to make any progress with it. It's eating up the yarn really quite a bit. So that's the sleeves done. And then I've now got down to this far further from where I got last time. But I have to say I'm starting to get a little bit bored with just knitting round and round and round and round. It's all right if I'm watching something really interesting on TV, but there hasn't really been much good programs on lately, and so I've been getting really bored, and I change over to my phone and play some mindless little games on my phone or my tablet. So I've been a bit distracted lately with it, so I need to keep plugging at it because I am actually fairly close. I want to go a bit longer because I want it to be just below the sort of waistband and then do the rib on that. I've got that much left in my third ball, and then I've got all of that skein. So I think I'll just keep going until, you know, I'm happy with the length, and then do the rib probably longer than the pattern says, because I like my tops to be a bit longer, and just I don't like anything riding up to my waist. So yeah, it's looking really good. Really happy with how that's going. It's just quite time consuming, being 4-ply 3mm needles, just knitting all the way around. But yep, I'll get it finished. Hopefully next podcast I might have that done. I've just remembered I have another whip that I actually started, so I'll just go and grab that. So in between finishing the first top and going back to my Anker tee, I decided I'd had the yarn already dyed up and the pattern sitting there, and I decided I would start working on the, I'll have a picture here, it's the Stansbury Shawl by who's the lady? Emily Clawson from Salt City Yarns or Yarnberry. She had created this lovely shawl, so I've shown you that picture. And so I dyed up the yarn because I really liked her example. I've just got it in one of my project bags that I've made. I really liked her version and her colouring, so I just dyed up this yarn. I don't know whether you can see that. It's just the natural with little splotches of pink and mauve speckles. Some of the pink can be quite bright. Don't know whether you can see that there. There's little bits of quite bright pink. And then I wanted it to go with a single, whether I've got the, I haven't got the mini, so I'm going to use a mauve mini that I had already to do the lacy bit in the middle. So I haven't got very far. This is how it's knitting up. It increases quite quickly, so it's quite a nice pattern to get into. So that's how the speckles are coming out. Really happy with the colouring. It's just lovely, and it's just so lovely and soft. It's just I think again a merino nylon merino mix that I'd bought as bare yarn and then dyed up myself. So really happy with that. But I've kind of put it aside because I really want to get the Anker tee ready for summer. So I can always go back to that, and I probably won't need a shawl until next winter, so I'm quite happy just having that aside. But really easy pattern to do and pick up, and I think once I get onto it monogamously, it'll be quite quick. So I've seen quite a few other people on podcasts that have been making this shawl, and it just looks lovely, and I really like how it's got the sort of lacy contrast section, and then it's got a lace border, so it looks really beautiful. So I'm really pleased to have at least started that. And then the last thing that I've been doing, and I've been doing quite a bit of it, not so much in the evenings because it gets dark and my craft room isn't the best set up for lighting. I can't thread the needle very well or anything because it's not got the best lighting in there. So, but I've been making some project bags. Here's one that I've just finished. So this is a medium size one, and I also did a bigger patchwork one. So this would be a large size, but I've been really enjoying making them, but I certainly don't need any more project bags myself, so I think I'm thinking about selling some. I'm not sure what platform to sell them on at this point. I could sell them through YouTube too. I don't think it's going to be cost effective to send them overseas, so it would probably only be to New Zealand customers. Whether I can sell them on YouTube or whether I put them on Marketplace, which is a free system here. Trade Me, you end up having to pay quite a bit of a commission for, so something like a $60 bag, I'm paying $5 to them for putting it on their platform. So, you know, you would have to increase the price to counteract, you know, the fee that they take, because you've got to cover your materials and things. So I'm not sure whether anybody here in New Zealand would have any suggestions or already do this themselves. I thought I'd make 3 sizes, and I didn't quite have the small one made. I've got it partly made. So that would be the large one, and it's big enough to put a blanket in. It's quite a good size. And then the medium, when you can see that, the mediums, and that's would be quite a good size for a garment or you know, sort of a medium-sized project, and the small one would be more of a sock size or a, you know, one skein shawl or something like that. So I've got some other colours planned. I've got a blue one partly made. I've got a mauve one, mauvey purples. I've got a black and white one, and then I've got sort of a green, tealy green floral one in the pipeline. So I'll possibly show them next time finished and see whether anybody's interested in them. But if you've got any suggestions of a good platform for selling, because I don't know whether I want to do Etsy, because then you've definitely got to get into international sales. I don't know whether it's quite easy on Etsy and whether it would be worthwhile doing that, or yeah, what the method would be. I probably wouldn't I'd just sell them as I made them, just because I really enjoy the sewing process and the quilting process, but I wouldn't necessarily have a stock of them. I'd just sort of sell them when I had 3 or 4 perhaps. So they're all fully lined. I don't know whether you can see in there's 2 pockets. There. They have a little lobster claw on the side in case you wanted to clip anything, and then inside on the side there they've just got a little D-ring so that you can hang stitch markers or something like that in them. They're fully quilted. They have a box bottom. I've only been doing the zip ones at this point, but if anybody was more interested in a drawstring type one, I just personally prefer the zip to the drawstring because I can close it off and animals or kiddies can't get into it. But if people preferred the drawstring look, then I certainly would look at doing those. So I'd either do them in the scrappy stripy look or the cross stitch, the checked patchwork ones. So like this one that I made's a drawstring one, patchwork. So that's one of mine. So yeah, if anybody was interested, then I'd love to hear. And I might just sort of do, like I've got the blue one going now, so I didn't quite get it finished, and I'll have a small one done, and then maybe I'll try putting them on whatever platform I decide to sell them on and see how they go, and then just make them. I'm not going to, you know, really push myself and spend lots of time making them. I'm just going to do it as an enjoyable process, and when I've got a couple of finished ones, then I'll pop them on for sale kind of thing. So I couldn't see that there was anybody really doing them. I see on Trade Me there is somebody that's making the embroidery little project bags, but I certainly couldn't see any knitting crochet type project bags online. So hopefully I'm not stepping on anybody's toes, but I just thought it was a way of maybe refinancing the materials, because I use quilting cottons and things, really good quality fabrics to make them, and yeah, so they should last a long time. The big blanket one, I've got more of a patterned lining, which is the same squares as this one here, so I try and incorporate one of the fabrics that I'm using as the lining somewhere on the bag so it all ties in. But yeah, so I just did pink because I had quite a bit of fabric in the pink, but I've since been and got some other colours, because I know not everybody's favourite colour's pink like mine. So yeah, and I've also got a couple of smaller sort of what you call notion pouches, but I'm making them as gifts for Christmas. Or I'm making a third one as well, so I've got 3 for gifts, but you quite often have a little piece left over, so I may even make some notion bags or something that kind of go with them, or got lots of ideas, but let's see how that progresses. So I'll show you a few more maybe next podcast, and see if anybody's interested in buying them, and you can always make a comment in the comments below, and then we can organise an email to have a chat about it if you are interested. So that's really all I've got today. I will steadily work at that and try and finish my Anker tea, and then I went and bought some yarn. I won't show you until I'm actually making it, but I bought some yarn ready for doing maybe a cable jersey or something for Riley, my grandson, for next winter. But because we don't really, it's hard to tell what sort of size he's going to be by next winter. He's growing like a mushroom. He's already sort of in 6 to 9 month clothes, and he's already starting to wear out of those. So he's not extra chubby or anything, but he's just quite long in the body, so quite a few of his little stretch and grows aren't long enough to do up at the, under the nappy and things like that. So I thought I might just wait till near a winter, like during the autumn, because I don't think it'd take that long to knit a little jersey. Maybe even a couple of jerseys for him. And so in the middle, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, whether I'm going to do more summer knitting, or whether I probably going to be too warm to do much more on my blanket. But yeah, we'll see what my plans are for after I finish this, the one that I'm doing now. But yes, so we'll see you next month. I'm not sure when I'll be able to post my next from now on podcast, because as of fortnight's time I'm going to start looking after Riley on my Thursdays off that I have off work. So it's not going to be as easy to podcast like I was, so it'll probably be in the weekend, and it'll be reliant on lawn mowing around the neighbourhood and things like that, or whether my husband's using any machinery or noisy things outside. So hopefully I'll still get them done monthly, but don't be too alarmed if it's more like 5 weeks or something. It just means that I'm settling into my looking after Riley, and trying to eke some time out so that I can do the podcast. I will still be doing crafts. I always will be. So I will still endeavour to get stuff done that I can show you, and also use as because what my podcasts really are, is just a record really for myself, so that I can see, you know, across the years what projects I've made. So, but I just thought I'd take everybody along with me. So thank you for joining me today, and I hope I'll see you next month. Bye for now.